You don't know what you're dealing with. Kalen's voice sliced through the stillness of the chamber. The words were precise, forceful, aimed directly at the heart of the argument. His gaze locked onto Commander Vexthal, who stood on the elevated platform, his cold reptilian eyes glaring down from above. The room was vast, the weight of hundreds of species' eyes pressing down on Kalen. Earth's fate was about to be decided here, and the decision was already leaning against them. All around him, the galactic assembly seemed to hum with anticipation, the deep thrum of the floor beneath his boots, reminding him that they were in the presence of powers far beyond Earth's reach. Yet for some reason he wasn't afraid. Vexthal continued, his voice rasping like gravel scraping metal. Their history is clear. Wars fought over resources, ideologies, land. Earth's very existence threatens the stability of the galaxy. They have proven time and again they cannot govern themselves. The words were like an execution sentence, each syllable marking the irreversible nature of the verdict. The heads-up display behind him flickered with images, mushroom clouds, cities reduced to rubble, the devastating aftermath of centuries of war, humanity's past, laid bare for all to see, and for all to judge. Kalen shifted on his feet, his posture betraying none of the tension rising inside him. He was used to being dismissed. He was used to hearing Earth's history spat out like some unavoidable inevitability. But this wasn't just a matter of survival, it was a matter of proving something the Assembly had yet to see. He stepped forward, ignoring the subtle shift in the air, the slight sound of chairs shifting, the quiet tension of species whispering to each other as he made his way to the center of the room. Commander Vexthal, Kalen said, his voice calm yet cutting, you speak of war but you forget what lies beneath. You think you know humanity because of what you've seen, but you don't. There was a pause. He let the words settle into the room. He could feel the eyes of the entire assembly on him, but he didn't flinch. He had to make them see. They had to understand. Earth has known violence, but what you fail to understand is that our greatest strength is our ability to overcome it. You claim we are fractured, but you ignore the fact that we are rebuilding, adapting, and preparing. His eyes flicked toward the screen behind Vexthal. What you show is a history of humanity's failures, but you don't show how we've learned from them, how we've evolved. There was a rustle in the room, a murmur of conversation. Kalen kept his gaze locked on Vexthal, refusing to look away. You think we're too dangerous to be left unchecked, but you're wrong. Humanity is not what it once was. Kalen let the words hang in the air for a moment. We've been preparing for the day you would come to us. You never bothered to look beneath the surface. You don't understand that we've been gathering knowledge, taking what we've learned from those who tried to conquer us, and we've built something that can hold its ground. Vexthal's eyes narrowed, and for the first time, there was uncertainty in his gaze. He clearly hadn't expected Kalen's response to be so calculated, so confident. The other delegates seemed uneasy, shifting in their seats, the sudden shift in Kalen's words cutting through the self-assurance of the draconian argument. Kalen wasn't done. We've taken what we've learned and turned it into our greatest weapon, not just in force, but in ingenuity. We don't fight wars the way you do. We outthink our enemies. We adapt, we find weakness, and we exploit it. His voice rang out clear and firm now, each syllable an undeniable truth. You've dismissed us, Vexthal, and you'll regret it. A hush fell over the room. The other species exchanged uncertain glances. The room felt colder now, heavier. Kalen's words had shifted the atmosphere. He had planted a seed of doubt where there had once been certainty. Vexthal snapped his claws, cutting through the silence. Enough of this. His voice was a harsh bark, clearly unsettled by the challenge. Your words are nothing but empty defiance. This vote is not about understanding or fairness. It's about survival. Earth's history is a chain of violence and chaos, and we will not let it endanger the peace we've worked so hard to maintain. Kalen met Vexthal's gaze, unflinching. You don't get to decide what happens to humanity, not anymore. His words were simple, but they carried weight. The decision was already being made. Kalen knew that. The majority of the council had already voted. Earth was to be enslaved, deemed too dangerous to remain free. The Draconians would lead the charge, and soon the fleets would arrive, ready to subjugate an entire planet. But Kalen wasn't finished. Not yet. He glanced briefly at the datapad in his hand, his mind already working through contingencies. The Humanity's Galactic Retaliation Program, HGRP, had been built in secret for a reason. The plans for Earth's defense were already in motion, hidden away in the most secure locations, and now, he would need to put them into action. Turning away from the assembly, Kalen gave one last look to the heads-up display, where Earth's fate was being decided in real time. He knew what this decision meant, he had prepared for it, and so had Earth. The door slid shut with a soft hiss behind Kalen as he stepped into the dimly lit command center beneath Earth's surface. His fingers hovered over the control panel, his gaze scanning the room filled with glowing heads-up displays and data consoles. The air felt charged, dense with the weight of what lay ahead. His team had been waiting for him, but they knew, just like he did, that the plan had already shifted. No more time for hesitation. The threat was real. The clock was ticking. We've been preparing for this moment. Kalen's voice cut through the tension, steady but heavy with purpose. He stepped toward the central terminal, fingers brushing across a console. Time to bring everything online. The team, a mix of engineers, tacticians, and scientists, worked without words, their movements quick and practiced. Kalen glanced at each face. Admiral Audrin Kalthus, now a trusted ally, stood by the side, eyes hard with the memory of the Draconian fleet's overconfidence. General Alice Draknor, a strategic mind whose loyalty to Earth was unwavering, was already punching in calculations, her mind racing through scenarios. They were in this together now, bound by the shared understanding that Earth's very survival rested on what they were about to activate. The Humanity's Galactic Retaliation Program, HGRP, had been in the making for years, covertly designed to ensure that when Earth was finally threatened, they would not be caught unprepared. Kalen had trusted no one but the best for this task. The laser plasma displays flickered to life as Kalen initiated the sequence. A map of Earth's defense network appeared, lines tracing the locations of hidden bases and research facilities, all working in tandem to counter the incoming alien threat. The full scope of our hidden arsenal, Kalen muttered under his breath, watching as icons blinked into existence on the screen. Reverse-engineered alien technology, weapons and systems scavenged from previous failed invasions, many years in the making, now ready for activation. Each defense node had been concealed in plain sight, in deep mountain bunkers, beneath ocean floors, even hidden within the heart of cities, cloaked as everyday structures. We have enough to give them a fight, Kalen. Audrin's voice was low, almost resigned. He didn't need to see the data to know what it meant. His people had already underestimated humanity once. He wouldn't make the same mistake again. Kalen's fingers flew over the console as he accessed the nanite technology Earth had developed, swarming microscopic machines capable of disrupting and neutralizing alien technology on a molecular level. The images on the display changed, now showing the deployment zones for the nanites. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. These nanites would disable the invading fleet's internal systems, corrupt their ships, jam communications, and even destroy weapons systems. It was a silent strike, but devastating in its execution. Nanite deployment is ready. EMP systems are online, General Draknor reported, her eyes narrowed in concentration. The grid is fully armed. Kalen nodded. Activate the EMP network. Let's see what they make of this. The EMP network was designed to disrupt electronic systems across Earth, but now, it had been retooled for the invasion. Massive electromagnetic pulse weapons stood ready to disable the Draconians' fleet before they even had a chance to fire. Kalen knew it would be their first line of defense, hitting the fleet at the moment they entered Earth's atmosphere, rendering their ships useless. The EMPs would hit first, blocking communications and neutralizing their shields. Now the Aegis Protocol, Kalen murmured, and the team fell silent. They all knew what this meant. The Aegis Protocol was humanity's ultimate weapon, hidden deep within Earth's core, beneath layers of military-grade security and geological rock. A system of massive dormant warheads designed to obliterate entire fleets in minutes, its activation code only accessible by a select few within the HGRP. It had been forgotten by most, buried under classified layers of secrecy. No one outside this room knew of its existence. Kalen's fingers pressed a sequence of commands, unlocking the protocol's dormant systems. The central core deep beneath the Earth's surface hummed to life, the dormant weaponry slowly rising to the surface like an ancient beast, awakened from its long slumber. The launch sequence began. "We only have one shot at this," Kalen muttered, his voice more strained now. The enormity of the decision lay heavy on him. If this didn't work, if the Draconians found a way around it, Earth would have nothing left to fall back on. The Aegis Protocol was their last card, their final hope. And once activated, there was no turning back. He looked up from the terminal. "This is our chance to prove we won't bow to their will. We'll show them we're not the primitive species they think we are." General Draknor nodded solemnly. "They'll see what humanity is capable of." The team worked in perfect synchronization, preparing for the imminent assault, double-checking each system. The Aegis Protocol was their ace, the endgame for this war that had not yet begun. With it they could neutralize the alien threat before the Draconian fleet even set foot on Earth's soil. The potential to destroy an entire fleet was staggering, but they had no other option. Kalen shifted his focus to the next piece of the puzzle, building alliances. He knew the assembly wasn't the only obstacle. The Draconians may have led the vote, but other factions in the galaxy were not fully aligned. It wasn't a clear-cut path. Many of the smaller species, unsure of the Draconians' true intentions, were watching closely. "Contact the resistance cells on Mars, Earth's orbital station, and the moon bases," Kalen ordered, his voice steady. "We need them prepared. They will be our eyes and ears once the battle starts. Let them know the stakes." Odrin moved toward another console, initiating communications with Earth's farthest outposts. "We're ready. Let's show them humanity's strength." As the final sequence was entered and the countdown began, Kalen stepped back, observing the screens around him. The image of the incoming fleet, the Draconian armada, loomed on the central display. It was vast, menacing, and closing in. "They'll reach us in 20 hours, General Draknor said, glancing at the clock. The tone of her voice didn't falter, but Kalen could see the strain in her eyes. This would be their hardest fight yet. Kalen swallowed, looking at his team. Each of them had a role to play. Each knew what was at stake. The Aegis Protocol was humanity's strongest weapon, but it wasn't just about technology. It was about unity, preparation, and resolve. "We do this for Earth, for everything we've built." Kalen's voice was low, but it carried the weight of 1,000 decisions made in secret, 1,000 plans laid out in the dark, and as the countdown clock ticked away, humanity prepared to stand its ground. "They're coming." Kalen's voice was low, his breath tight in the stagnant air of the command center. His fingers traced the edge of the console, the blinking lights and data streams casting an eerie glow across his face. His team stood in silence around him, each member waiting, as if the very stillness in the room could hold back the inevitable. The Draconian fleet was closing in on Earth, and they believed it would be easy. Kalen had watched their movements on the heads-up display, watched their ships, sleek, powerful, and arrogant, glide effortlessly through space, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Admiral Audrin Kalthus, once Earth's enemy, now an uneasy ally, had made no secret of his disbelief at Earth's readiness. "They think we're weak," Kalen muttered under his breath. His hand hovered over the control panel. His mind was already far ahead, planning for what would come next. He knew the stakes. Earth's last defense was about to be tested. "The fleet is en route." Audrin's voice broke the silence, a grim acceptance in his tone. The two of them had been working together for only a short time, but Kalen had learned one thing quickly. Audrin's pragmatism was a deadly asset. He had fought against humanity once, but now he was working with them, unwillingly, perhaps, but working nonetheless. "We'll buy Earth time." Kalen's words were quiet but firm. He was already thinking several steps ahead, his thoughts a sharp flurry of plans. Earth wasn't going to surrender. It wasn't going to bend. He couldn't let it. He stared at the heads-up display again. "We've set up tactical traps, EMP fields, nanite swarms, and the automated defense grid. They'll try to break through, but they won't know what hit them." The first wave of Draconian ships, hundreds of them, sleek and intimidating, began to cross the outer rim of Earth's atmosphere. Kalen's gaze narrowed. He had seen these ships before, during the brief encounters Earth had had with other invaders. Each ship carried the weight of a galaxy that underestimated Earth's capability to respond. Audrin was silent for a moment, then leaned over to Kalen, his eyes scanning the screens. "We haven't fought them yet, Kalen. I've seen their power." Callan turned to face him. That's why we need to buy time. His eyes burned with a fire that Audrin hadn't seen before. We need to give Earth the time it needs to prepare for what's coming. In the command room, tension rose like a storm cloud, swelling and thickening with each passing minute. The team's voices were almost silent now. Callan's fingers moved over the terminal, with practiced ease. The nanite swarms were deployed, their molecular-level power designed to wreak havoc on alien technology. But he knew that wouldn't be enough. Earth needed more. As the first wave entered the outer boundaries of Earth's defense zone, the electromagnetic pulse weapons came online. Massive, invisible waves of energy began to flood the atmosphere, directed with surgical precision. Ships began to flicker on the display, their systems grinding to a halt. Callan's fingers danced over the console, watching as the first few ships in the Draconian fleet staggered, their movements erratic as the EMP field triggered a cascade of failures across their power systems. But the fight had only just begun. They'll adapt, Callan muttered, watching their ships slowly regain their footing. It was always the same. The first strike was always a test. The aliens would regroup. They would rethink their strategy. He wasn't wrong. The next wave came faster, and the displays flashed with warning. The EMPs had stalled them, but it wasn't enough. Callan could see the energy readings spiking from the alien ships as they powered up their own countermeasures. Callan stood up, his voice sharp. Activate the second phase of the defense grid. The countdown began on the screen, a low mechanical whir as the planetary defense system began its quiet transformation. Earth's defenses had been built to be flexible, designed to adapt in real time to enemy counterattacks. The grid's shield systems hummed with power as they began to coalesce, surrounding Earth like an unseen fortress. In the cold silence of space, the Draconian ships began their assault in earnest. The first few shots fired, directed at Earth's cities, were met with bursts of energy from the newly deployed shield network. Callan watched, his heart hammering in his chest, as the energy beams collided with the invisible barrier around Earth. The explosions lit up the night sky like stars falling from the heavens. But Earth stood firm. Still, the Draconian fleet had the advantage in numbers. Their assault intensified, and Callan knew it wouldn't be long before they began testing Earth's other defenses. Prepare the countermeasures. Callan's voice was now steady, calculated. Let's see how they react to the nanite reinforcements. On his command, the second round of nanite swarms, this time more advanced, more aggressive, began their deployment. These new swarms were capable of infiltrating deeper into alien technology, targeting weapon systems, and corrupting them before they could fire. They would make sure the Draconians felt every failure, every hesitation, before they could attack again. But even as Callan watched the screen, his thoughts were already moving. This first round of combat was only a distraction. Earth's full strength, its full potential, was still hidden. The Draconians had no idea what they were walking into. The tension was rising in the control room. Callan's team was quiet now, each of them watching as Earth's automated defense systems locked down key entry points into the atmosphere. The Draconians would struggle to break through Earth's shield, and when they did, they would find their every move anticipated. What's their next move? General Draknor asked, her voice sharp with the mounting pressure. The display flickered, showing the alien ships regrouping, attempting to adjust to the pressure Earth had just exerted. They'll regroup, they always do, Callan said, his tone still calm. But they won't get the advantage. Not this time. We have them on the back foot. The alien ships began to form new formations, their tactics shifting, probing for weaknesses, but they wouldn't find any. Not here, not yet. They think they know what they're up against, Callan said, more to himself than anyone else in the room. But we've been ready for this. He turned to Audrin. Now we hit them with the Aegis protocol. He knew that this wasn't the final strike, not yet. But the time was approaching when Earth would reveal its true strength, and when it did, the Draconians would understand just how wrong they were to underestimate humanity. The tension in the room became a palpable force. The Draconian fleet, though massive and powerful, was now facing something it couldn't comprehend. A force that had been waiting, building, growing in the shadows. Callan's eyes hardened as the next phase of the battle unfolded. The Draconians were testing their limits, probing for weaknesses, but Callan knew better. They hadn't seen what was coming. The game was changing. We have them on the ropes. Callan's voice broke the tense silence in the command center. His fingers moved swiftly over the console, activating another round of countermeasures. On the heads-up display, the first wave of Draconian ships flickered and jerked as their systems malfunctioned, disabled by the precision of Earth's electromagnetic pulse weapons. The nanite swarms were already at work, infiltrating and disrupting the alien fleets at a molecular level. The invaders were unprepared for Earth's defenses, and it showed. We're not letting them through. Not this time, Kalen added, his voice steely with determination. His team, scattered across the room, worked in sync, each member with their own task, their own responsibility. The tension that had been suffocating them now hung in the air like a palpable force. The quiet rhythm of the heads-up displays the only noise in the room. On the laser plasma display, the Draconian fleet's slow, painful progression across Earth's atmosphere was clearly visible. The ships, once so confident in their might, were now scrambling. They shifted, regrouped, trying to find an opening in Earth's rapidly forming defense lines. "They're slowing down," General Draknor observed, watching the icons on her own display. "We've hit them harder than they anticipated." Kalen's eyes never left the screen, and they don't know what else we have in store for them. The EMP weapons had taken their toll. As Kalen had predicted, the first wave of the Draconian fleet had been caught off guard. Their systems, though advanced, were vulnerable to Earth's new technology. But Kalen knew this wasn't the end. The Draconians wouldn't back down just because of a few setbacks. The second wave would come, and they would come prepared. In the midst of the battle, Kalen's personal focus shifted briefly. A blinking red alert caught his eye. His gaze flicked to the corner of the screen. A coded message, encrypted and masked under layers of secrecy, flashed across the terminal. His fingers hovered, his heart quickening. "Kalen, what is it?" Odran's voice was clipped, his sharp eyes fixed on Kalen, who hesitated for just a moment before activating the message. It was from Admiral Kulthess, a defection. "I'm listening," Kalen said, his tone commanding. The room seemed to hold its breath as Kulthess's words appeared on the screen, each letter a revelation. "The Draconians, they underestimated you. I underestimated you. We've failed. Your technology surpasses ours. The invasion is not going according to plan. The second wave will come, more powerful ships, but they'll still be blindsided. I will help you. I'm offering you the intelligence you need to break through their defenses. We cannot win this if we don't work together." A silence filled the room. Even Audran looked momentarily stunned by the admission. Kulthess had been a key figure in orchestrating the invasion, and yet here he was, offering to help Earth. Kalen's expression remained unreadable, as he considered the gravity of the situation. "He's right," Kalen muttered. "We need every advantage we can get." The room erupted into activity, as Kalen began making calls to coordinate the next step. This would change everything. Admiral Kulthess's intelligence was invaluable. Detailed reports on the Draconian strategies, weaknesses in their tactics, and the key locations of their reinforcements. The Draconian armada had been fractured, but they still had the numbers. Earth's defenses were strong, but Earth needed a decisive strike. "Prepare for a counterattack," Kalen ordered. His voice left no room for doubt. "We'll use what we have. We'll hit them with everything we've got." The battle raged in Earth's orbit as Kalen and his team rapidly adapted to the changing situation. The Draconian fleet launched a second wave, heavier, faster, their ships bristling with more advanced weapons. This time the invaders weren't simply probing for weaknesses. They came in full force. Their advanced weapons systems hummed to life, sending powerful energy blasts toward Earth's shields. "They're stronger," General Draknor observed, her voice sharp with concern as the first few shots rattled the defense grid. The shields, designed to withstand intense pressure, flared briefly before stabilizing. "We need to hold them off longer." Kalen's mind raced. Earth's defenses had already taken down the first wave, but the second wave was different. The Draconians were adapting faster than expected. The fight was escalating, the tension rising with each passing second. "We can't let them break through," Kalen growled. He turned to Audran, his plan already forming. "Give me the coordinates for their command ship. I'll take out their command structure first. We cripple their coordination. We cripple their fleet." Audran nodded without hesitation. "Already on it. Coordinates locked. Ready when you are." The tension in the command center was palpable as Kalen prepared for the counterattack. His fingers hovered over the launch sequence, a single thought running through his mind. This had to work. He was confident in Earth's defenses, confident in their ability to withstand the Draconian onslaught. But this counterattack would decide everything. "This is it. Make it count." Kalen's words were resolute, cutting through the growing tension in the room. As Kalen's team coordinated the assault, the sky above Earth began to shimmer with flashes of light. The high-speed battle was moving too quickly to keep track of every detail, but Kalen could feel the heat of it all, the pulse of energy waves as Earth's defense grid fired back at the Draconian invaders. The first blast of energy from Earth's side hit the Draconian command ship, sending ripples across the invaders' fleet. The ship's shields flickered, faltered, and then cracked under the intensity of Earth's response. Kalen watched with a controlled breath as the command ship's internal systems failed. Within moments, the Draconian fleet's command structure was in disarray. "They're falling apart," Audrin murmured, his voice a mix of disbelief and reluctant respect. The Draconians had never expected Earth to have this level of preparedness. The Draconians responded with fury, launching an onslaught of their own, but it was too late. Earth's automated defenses continued to push back. The first wave had been devastating to the invaders, but the second wave, it was beginning to crumble as the Draconians realized they had underestimated Earth's resolve. The battle raged on, but the momentum had shifted. Kalen watched the screen, his face grim but determined. Earth had held the line, but this was only the beginning. The war was far from over. The Draconian fleet, once poised to conquer, was now forced to rethink its strategy, and Kalen, he was ready for whatever came next. The shattered remnants of the Draconian fleet floated like broken shells in Earth's orbit. Their arrogance had been met with a swift counterstrike, their pride broken in the first few moments of battle. Now the time had come for the galaxy to know the truth. Kalen's fingers hovered over the terminal as the transmission was initiated, his gaze fixed on the heads-up display that showed the gathered representatives of the Galactic Assembly. The moment had arrived. The next few minutes would decide the fate of not just Earth, but the very fabric of galactic order. "This is Kalen Varath," his voice crackled through the airwaves, calm but heavy with intent. "And I'm speaking to you today, not as a representative of Earth, but as a testament to humanity's strength." The laser plasma display behind him flickered and shifted. It wasn't the usual calm blue of the Galactic Assembly's serene image projections. No, today it was red, crimson, tinged with images from the battles fought above Earth's atmosphere. The Draconian ships, disabled, their systems fried by Earth's EMP weapons. The very same weapons that had disabled their fleet. Footage flashed, showing the nanite swarms creeping through alien technology, dissolving weapons systems, sabotaging shields, and rendering their once-feared fleet helpless. Kalen stood tall, his voice steady. "For cycles, you have been led to believe a lie." He paused, letting the words settle. "You've heard the Draconians tell you that Earth is a threat, a rogue species incapable of coexistence. But in reality, it is they who have threatened galactic peace. It is they who have hidden their violent history under the guise of diplomacy." The images on the screen shifted again. This time, the faces of the Draconian leadership appeared. Commander Vexthal, Admiral Kalthus, their hands stained with the blood of countless species. Kalen's voice became more forceful. "You have voted to enslave us, based on the fear you allowed the Draconians to feed you. You have allowed them to control your perception, to manipulate the truth, the very truth you were too afraid to see." The faces of the assembly shifted. Some reacted with confusion, others with unease. The air in the chamber was thick now, and Kalen knew what they were thinking. How could they have been so wrong? He pressed forward, showing footage not from Earth, but from the records Kalen had uncovered, long-buried evidence of Draconian genocides, the cruel subjugation of peaceful species, and the systematic purging of civilizations that posed no threat. It was damning evidence, the final nail in the Draconians' coffin. "This is the truth," Kalen continued. "The Draconians would have you believe their conquest is justified, but what they hide is a trail of destruction, a history of oppression that stretches across galaxies. It is not us who need to be controlled, it is them." As Kalen spoke, Admiral Kalthus was watching from a remote hidden chamber on the Draconian flagship. His face was a mask of disbelief and shame. His species had lied, and he had been complicit. Now, in the wake of Earth's defense, the harsh reality was sinking in. "Please," Kalthus's voice was strained, his hand trembling as he activated a private channel. "I need to speak with Kalen." His officers looked at him in stunned silence. Kalthus's defection was not only an unexpected turn, it was a betrayal of the Draconian cause. The message Kellen had just broadcasted had shattered the Draconians' carefully constructed narrative, and now the Admiral was questioning everything he had ever believed. In a starkly lit room, Kellen received the message. His eyes narrowed as he read the encrypted transmission. Kalthus wanted to defect. He had been disillusioned, his eyes now open to the truth. Kellen's fingers hovered over the response button. A single word appeared on the screen: meet. There was no time for hesitation. Earth was not the only one fighting for its survival. Kalthus now stood at a crossroads, and Earth needed every ally it could get. Back in the command center, Kellen prepared for the next phase of their strategy. The Draconians were in disarray, but their desperation was only growing. Commander Vexthal, who had been leading the invasion, began to rally his forces for a final stand. Earth's defenses had crippled the first wave, but the second wave, heavier, more advanced, was already on its way. This isn't over, not yet. Kellen's voice rang out in the dim room as he prepared for the counterattack. The Draconians had underestimated them, but now they were facing the full force of humanity's hidden strength. Activate the Aegis Protocol. Kellen's voice left no room for doubt. We finish this now. The Aegis Protocol was Earth's ultimate weapon. Designed to neutralize a fleet in an instant, it had been hidden away for centuries, until now. The program had been a last resort, but Kellen knew it would turn the tide. He glanced at General Draknor, who was already coordinating the launch. I know what this means, Kellen said, his voice steady, the gravity of the moment never leaving him. But we have no choice. The Draconians have forced our hand. We'll show the galaxy what happens when you think humanity is weak. The countdown began, and the room fell silent. Every eye was on the screen, watching as Earth's final weapon came online. The heads-up displays showed the trajectory of the Draconian fleet. They were closing in, their ships bristling with advanced weaponry, but it wouldn't matter. The Aegis Protocol launched, and the sky above Earth erupted in an explosion of light. The power of the protocol was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. In seconds, the Draconian fleet was reduced to smoldering ruins. A flash of energy expanded outward, neutralizing their advanced weapons, tearing through their ships as though they were paper. As the screen displayed the aftermath, Kellen turned to his team, the weight of their victory sinking in. The Draconian threat had been obliterated, but even as the victory resonated through Earth's defenders, Kellen knew the war wasn't over. The Galactic Assembly still had to make a decision, and Earth's place in the galaxy was not yet secured. Back in the Galactic Assembly, confusion reigned. The Draconians, who had been so sure of their power, now stood before a force they hadn't expected. The truth had been revealed. Some alien species, recognizing their misstep in following the Draconian lead, began to shift allegiances. The Draconian coalition began to fracture, cracks widening as more species defected. We have been deceived. One delegate from the Lunarian species stood, his voice shaking. The Draconians have lied to us. Earth is not the threat, they were the victims. The Galactic Assembly was now divided. Earth's actions had forced the hand of the galaxy, and its future was uncertain. Some members demanded mercy for Earth, others sought retribution. But one thing was clear: Earth was no longer the scapegoat it had once been. Kellen stood tall before the Assembly, his voice unwavering. Humanity has been deceived, but we've been preparing for this moment for centuries. A message had been sent, loud and clear. Humanity would no longer be a subject to the whims of the galaxy. They would stand as equals. We will not be enslaved. We will not be silenced. Earth will rise not as a slave, but as a sovereign power. The stage was set. The battle had been won, but the war for Earth's place among the stars was only just beginning. The question now was not whether humanity could survive, but whether the galaxy was ready to accept them as equals. Activate the Aegis Protocol, Kalen ordered, his voice steady, cutting through the tension in the command center. His fingers were already moving, entering the final sequence to deploy the ultimate weapon. Earth's victory was close, too close to risk losing it now. His team moved quickly, the hum of their commands merging with the rapid clicking of the terminal's keys. On the heads-up display, the Draconian fleet was battered, struggling against Earth's defenses, but they weren't done yet. The remnants of the Armada, though crippled by Earth's electromagnetic weaponry and nanite swarms, still had a formidable force. Their ships, though disoriented and damaged, were regrouping for one final stand. Deploy the Aegis Protocol now, Kalen repeated, his voice low but unwavering. We cannot afford another hour of this. The Aegis Protocol had been designed as a last resort weapon, one so devastating that its activation would signal the end of the conflict. Hidden deep beneath Earth's surface for generations, it had never been tested until now. Kalen had studied it, analyzed its potential, but activating it was a gamble, a weapon capable of obliterating an entire fleet, capable of turning the tide of battle with a single strike. But the stakes were too high, and time was running out. With a final confirmation, the system was activated. The heads-up display flickered as the activation sequence began, and in the distance, the Draconian fleet, once proud and powerful, had no idea what was about to hit them. The Aegis Protocol initiated in a brilliant flash. Kalen's breath caught as the energy pulse expanded outward, cascading through space like an unstoppable wave. The pulse was not just destructive, it was all-encompassing, neutralizing energy shields, disabling weapons, and rendering Draconian technology useless within seconds. The Draconian fleet reacted in confusion. Their weapons flickered, then powered down entirely. Ships that had once fired upon Earth now drifted aimlessly, powerless against the surge of Earth's overwhelming might. The Aegis Protocol had done what it was designed to do, devastate. The Draconian fleet began to break apart, their once mighty ships crumbling under the force of the weapon. One by one, their vessels disintegrated, the heads-up display flashing with each loss. The flagship, once the symbol of their power, attempted to charge forward, its engines roaring to life in a last attempt to fight. But it was too late. We've won. General Draknor's voice, usually so controlled, cracked with a hint of disbelief. Her eyes locked onto the screen, watching as the Draconian flagship, the heart of their remaining fleet, was torn apart in a spectacular explosion. The blast resonated across the battlefront, a silent yet powerful declaration that the Draconians had failed. Earth had claimed its victory. Kalen exhaled slowly, his eyes fixed on the final moments of the battle. The laser plasma display showed the remnants of the Draconian fleet, now floating in space like debris. The blast radius of the Aegis Protocol's power had obliterated their most powerful ships. Their forces, once confident in their ability to dominate Earth, were now shattered, their ability to fight rendered obsolete. The heads-up display confirmed what they had all been waiting for. Their final push had failed. We've done it, Kalen muttered to himself. But even as the victory settled in, his thoughts were already moving toward the next challenge. Earth had won, but the Galactic Assembly still loomed, and they had yet to see how humanity's newfound power would affect the balance of the galaxy. In the aftermath of the battle, chaos erupted within the Galactic Assembly. The shock of Earth's unexpected victory was still reverberating across the galaxy. Alien species that had supported the Draconians, eager to see Earth enslaved, now found themselves scrambling to salvage what was left of their alliances. The Aegis Protocol's activation had been a turning point, not just in the war, but in the balance of power across the galaxy. "This is unbelievable," one delegate from the Ithalian Confederacy murmured, watching the live feed from Earth. "How could we have underestimated them? We were deceived," another delegate from the Tregloran responded. "The Draconians told us Earth was a primitive species, but now we see what they are capable of." The Vrokians, once staunch supporters of the Draconian agenda, were now looking at Earth with a mix of fear and admiration. They had been prepared to witness Earth's defeat, but instead, they were seeing a new force rising in the galaxy, a force they had not anticipated. "It's over," one Vrokian leader admitted, his voice heavy with resignation. "We were wrong." And then, there was the Lunarian delegate, who had always been the voice of reason in the assembly. She stood up, her voice calm but carrying the weight of the galaxy's future. "The Draconians sought to divide us. They wanted to use us to crush Earth, but we've seen the truth now. Earth is not our enemy. It never was." The room fell into stunned silence. The power dynamics of the Galactic Assembly were shifting before everyone's eyes. Species that had once supported the Draconians now saw Earth as an ally, a force they could no longer ignore. The once monolithic power that had ruled the Assembly was splintering, its foundation cracked by the truth Kalen had exposed. Back in the command center, Kalen turned away from the display, his eyes meeting those of his team. They had done the impossible, but the work wasn't over. Earth had proven its strength, but the path ahead would not be easy. The Draconians had been defeated, but the galaxy was a far more complex place than any of them had imagined. "We've won today," Kalen said, his voice steady but thoughtful. But this is just the beginning. Earth now stands at a crossroads. We must decide who we are going to be in this galaxy. We've shown our power, but we need to decide how we use it. General Draknor nodded, her face serious. We have the upper hand now, but we need to be careful. The Assembly will have to come to terms with us, but we can't let their fear control our future. Kalen smiled faintly, the weight of the next steps already forming in his mind. Exactly, we'll make our place in this galaxy, not as conquerors but as equals. The laser plasma displays in front of them flickered again, this time showing the Aegis Protocol's aftermath. The Draconians had fallen, Earth had won, but the galaxy was far from settled. Let's make sure they remember what happened here today, Kalen said, turning back to the screen. We've set the stage for a new future. We've won, Kalen. The voice was familiar, rough around the edges but carrying a sense of finality. Admiral Kaltha stood by Kalen's side, his gaze fixed on the sprawling view of Earth's atmosphere, still alive with the flickering lights of victory. Below them, the world was changing. The weight of the war had been fought and won, but the peace was yet to be forged. Kalen nodded, his expression unreadable. His gaze remained on the heads-up display, where the remnants of the Draconian fleet now seemed like distant memories. The Aegis Protocol had shattered their might, leaving only debris scattered across space. But that was only one battle. The war for Earth's future was just beginning. Yes, but the work's far from over. Kalen's voice was low, focused, the weight of leadership settling on his shoulders. His time as a soldier had come to an end. The mantle of responsibility was heavier than any armor he had worn. As Earth's representative, the future now rested on his decisions. The first few days after Earth's victory were filled with celebrations. Cheers erupted in the streets, fireworks lit up the sky, and the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. Humanity had survived. But Kalen, though pleased to see his people triumph, knew this was only the beginning. Earth's role in the galaxy had changed forever. Inside the newly built Galactic Council, Kalen prepared for his first address. The representatives of the alien species, once skeptical and fearful, now sat in uneasy silence. The weight of Earth's strength hung over them like a storm cloud. The Draconians had been defeated, but the politics of the galaxy would not change overnight. "Are you ready for this?" Admiral Kalthus asked, his voice tinged with caution. He had once been Earth's enemy, but now he was an unexpected ally. His shift in allegiance was symbolic of the transformation occurring throughout the galaxy. But trust, especially in matters of galactic politics, was not easily won. Kalen turned to him, his face hard with resolve. "I don't know if anyone can be ready for this, but we'll face it head-on." The heads-up display in front of them flashed with real-time communications from the Council. It was time. The laser plasma displays in the Grand Council chamber hummed to life, casting the room in soft, shifting light. Kalen took his place before the assembly, the gaze of hundreds of species locked onto him. The silence was deafening. His hand rested on the podium, a subtle reminder of the power he now wielded. To the Galactic Council, Kalen began, his voice steady, clear, carrying across the room with surprising authority. "Today we stand at a crossroads. Earth has proven itself as a force not to be underestimated. The Draconian threat is no more, and the balance of power in this galaxy has irrevocably shifted." He paused for a moment, scanning the room. Alien species, once united in their fear of humanity, now looked uncertain. Some were still clinging to old allegiances, but Kalen saw the glint of doubt in their eyes. "For cycles, Earth has been a target. We've been seen as weak, insignificant. We've been forced to hide in the shadows of your decisions. But that era is over." A murmur rippled through the assembly, alien leaders exchanging uncertain glances. Kalen had anticipated this. Earth's entry into galactic politics would be met with resistance, but humanity's victory was a symbol of more than just military strength. It was a declaration of sovereignty. "We are not here to threaten the peace of the galaxy," Kalen continued. "We are here to protect our world, to ensure that humanity's voice is heard." His words rang out, unwavering. He could see the assembly's resistance begin to fracture. The Lunarians, who had always opposed Earth's enslavement, nodded in agreement. The Zothari Confederation, once a staunch Draconian ally, now seemed to reconsider their position. "Earth is not a conquered world," Kalen said, his voice rising with determination. "We will not be a vassal. We will stand with those who seek peace and unity. We will not be pushed into submission again." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the atmosphere was different. The victory was sweet, but Kalen knew the public reaction was just the surface of a much deeper shift. The celebrations had passed, and now humanity faced a new reality, one where the future wasn't guaranteed by strength alone. Now Earth had to prove that it could wield its newfound power with wisdom and integrity. "The people are calling for action," Kalen General Draknor said, entering the room with a datapad in hand. "They want to know what comes next. What are we really fighting for?" Kalen turned toward her, his eyes narrowing as he thought about the answer. For survival, for dignity, for a place in the stars. The political landscape of Earth had shifted overnight. The victory had inspired hope, but it had also brought forth the reality of governance. The world was no longer just surviving. It was now positioned to lead or to fall. "We've shown them what we're capable of," General Draknor added. "Now we need to ensure that we don't fall into the same traps the Draconians did. We need to build alliances, not just demand respect." In the Galactic Council, the decision on Earth's future was fast approaching. Some species had already made their alliances clear, their shift in loyalty aligning with the new reality. Earth was a power to be respected, but others, unwilling to accept the change, remained entrenched in their old fears. "We cannot just let Earth dominate the galaxy," one of the Athalian delegates muttered under his breath, his voice carrying across the room. Their victory was an anomaly, a fluke. It doesn't change anything. Kalen's eyes met his, unblinking. "The only anomaly here is your refusal to see what's in front of you." Kalen shot back, his tone sharp. "Earth has earned its place, and we will make sure that every species here recognizes that." There was no turning back now. The heads-up display blinked as the final votes were cast. The Galactic Assembly was on the brink of a new era. A divided galaxy was now looking to Earth, not just for its strength, but for its leadership. In the aftermath of the battle, Kalen's role had changed forever. He was no longer just a soldier. He had become the face of Earth's future, a leader who had fought for humanity's right to exist in the stars, not as a servant to the whims of the galaxy's rulers, but as an equal. "I've seen the galaxy bend under the weight of lies and fear," Kalen said, his voice steady, his resolve unshaken. "But Earth will stand. We will fight for what's ours, and we will build a future where no one, no matter their origin, will be forced to bow to anyone." The laser plasma displays flickered one final time as Kalen's speech came to a close. The future of Earth was no longer in question. The question now was whether the galaxy would accept this new reality. The road ahead was uncertain, but Kalen knew one thing for sure: humanity had earned its place in the stars, and there was no turning back now. "We're not done yet." Kalen's voice was a low growl, a tension-laden promise that cut through the stillness of the command center. He stood at the heart of the operations room, his hands clenched into fists as he looked out at the heads-up displays blinking with new alerts. The galaxy, while in a fragile peace, still simmered with hostility. The victory over the Draconians was only the beginning, and Kalen knew that there were forces still lurking in the shadows, waiting for a chance to strike. The Draconians may be broken, but the rest of the galaxy isn't as accommodating. General Draknor's voice was grave, her sharp eyes reflecting the dim light of the command center. She watched as the laser plasma display projected images of the galaxy, showing the movement of various fleets still loyal to the Draconian cause, their ships on the edge of a full-scale counter-offensive. Kalen turned to face her. The weight of the past few weeks had settled on his shoulders like an unrelenting storm, and despite Earth's military successes, he knew the calm would not last. "We've shaken the foundation of the galaxy," he said. "Some won't accept it. They'll strike when they think we're vulnerable." "You're right," General Draknor replied. "There are still factions that want to see Earth fall. They're afraid of what we represent, but we won't give them the satisfaction." Kalen nodded, his jaw tightening. "Then we prepare for the worst. We go to the heart of their empire. We end this for good." The heads-up displays shifted, showing the coordinates for the Draconian homeworld, the source of their power, the place where their empire had been built. The homeworld was still in chaos, but it was now vulnerable. The remnants of the Draconian forces had regrouped, hoping to mount one final stand against Earth's expanding might. Kalen had a choice to make: revenge or reconciliation. His mission was clear, but the path ahead was unclear. "We go in." Kalen's words rang out decisively as he gathered his team. They would not sit back. They would take the fight to the heart of the Draconian Empire. There was no turning back. The room buzzed with preparations as Kalen's elite strike force prepared for the mission. Among them was Admiral Kalthus, the Draconian defector who had now sworn loyalty to Earth. His transition from enemy to ally had been hard-earned, but Kalen had come to respect the man who had once fought against humanity's survival. "It's strange," Kalthus said, looking over the final mission plans. "I never imagined I'd be on this side, leading a strike force against my own people." His voice was rough, but there was a flicker of something deeper there, guilt perhaps, or redemption. Kalen met his gaze. "It's not about them anymore. It's about us, Kalthus. About what Earth stands for now." The tension in the room was palpable as Kalen and his team boarded their ships. The laser plasma displays lit up the command center as their fleet took off, heading toward the Draconian homeworld, ready to face whatever awaited them. Kalen's thoughts lingered on the choices before him. His hands clenched again as they passed through the final phase of the jump, his resolve hardening. As Earth's fleet entered the Draconian system, the remnants of the enemy fleet came into view. Their ships were battered, their hulls scorched, but they had managed to regroup, driven by a desire for revenge. The battle was imminent. The laser plasma displays showed the enemy ships positioning themselves for defense, but there was something in the way they moved: hesitation. They weren't as unified as they had been before. The Draconian flagship was still operational, but its systems flickered, unstable from the earlier skirmishes. Kalen's voice came through the comms, cold and determined. "All units engage. We can't waste time. Target their command center. Disable their fleet." The battle erupted in a burst of energy. Earth's ships, powered by advanced technology and the Aegis Protocol's aftershock, moved with precision, striking the Draconian ships with unrelenting force. The fight was brutal, but Earth's forces were faster, smarter. The enemy's resistance was stiff, but their will was weakening. The heads-up display tracked the progress of the battle as Earth's strike force made its way toward the Draconian flagship. The Draconian fleet was faltering, their systems failing one by one under the weight of Earth's superior firepower. Kalen's hand tightened on the controls as the flagship came into view. A brief moment of clarity passed through him. The final test. Revenge was within his grasp. The Draconian flagship loomed before him, and the opportunity to destroy it was there. But Kalen knew the consequences of that decision. If he struck now, the galaxy would know Earth as a vengeful, destructive force. If he held back, he could show the galaxy that humanity sought peace, not war. "This ends now," Kalen said, his voice cold as steel. He had made his decision. The strike was ordered, and Earth's ships launched a coordinated attack on the flagship's critical systems. A series of well-placed strikes tore through the Draconian defenses, knocking out their shields and disabling their power systems. The Draconian flagship began to lose its cohesion, its interior lights flickering, before a final catastrophic explosion sent debris scattering across the battlefield. The flagship had been destroyed, its once proud banner now reduced to ash. In the aftermath of the battle, the remnants of the Draconian fleet scattered, their power shattered. The field was silent, save for the crackle of communication, as Earth's forces confirmed their victory. Kalen stood at the front of his ship, looking out at the remnants of the enemy fleet. His heart still raced from the battle, but his mind was focused on what came next. "It's over," Admiral Kalthus said quietly from behind him, his voice filled with a strange mixture of relief and regret. "The Draconians are finished." Kalen nodded, his mind already turning toward the future. "Yes, but it's not just about destroying them, it's about what comes after. The galaxy will never be the same." As the heads-up displays filled with communications from the Galactic Assembly, the future of Earth was laid out before them. They had shown their strength, but now, the true test of their power lay in the negotiations to come. The galaxy, still recovering from the shock of the Draconian defeat, was about to witness Earth's rise as a new force. Whether it would be accepted as an ally, or feared as a new empire, was yet to be determined. Kalen's voice, though weary, was firm. We will not conquer, we will protect. The galaxy will understand that. Earth will take its place among the stars, not as a conqueror, but as an equal. In the quiet aftermath of the battle, as the remnants of the draconian forces were either destroyed or surrendered, Kalen knew that Earth had passed its final test. The galaxy had been warned. Earth was no longer a prey to be hunted. It was a power to be reckoned with. And as the stars stretched out before him, Kalen made a silent vow. No matter what the future held, Earth would defend itself, not with vengeance, but with the strength to rise above. We've arrived. Kalen's voice reverberated through the command center, low and controlled. His hands rested on the console before him, and the weight of the moment was pressing down on him like never before. The heads-up displays around him flickered with images of the vast reaches of space, humanity's ships patrolling the galaxy, a constant reminder of the price they'd paid to reach this point. Earth had finally arrived, not as an afterthought, nor as a conquered world, but as an undeniable power, one that would shape the future of the galaxy. The last few years had been a blur of battles, alliances, victories, and losses. Every step had brought humanity closer to the edge of something new, something vast and full of unknowns. But now, standing on the precipice of galactic recognition, Kalen couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. The mission to the draconian homeworld had been the final test, the point of no return. Earth had proven its resilience, its ingenuity, and its determination to survive. And yet as Earth emerged from the shadows of galactic oppression, the fight was far from over. We've secured peace, Kalen. General Draknor's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Her tone was resolute, but her eyes betrayed the weight of their journey. For now the galaxy sees us not as an enemy, but as an equal. Kalen nodded, his expression unreadable. But the road ahead is long, he murmured. It's one thing to win the war, and another to prove we belong here. The heads-up displays continued to show Earth's growing fleet, ships now orbiting distant planets, guarding against any who would seek to undo the peace they'd fought for. The message Earth had sent was clear. Humanity would no longer be a pawn, a puppet in the hands of greater forces. Humanity had claimed its rightful place in the stars. The laser plasma displays in the command center shifted, showing the Galactic Council's final acceptance of Earth as a sovereign entity. Delegates from once hostile species now met with Kalen to formalize peace treaties, acknowledging humanity's power, its diplomacy, and most importantly, its commitment to peace. Yet there was an undercurrent of tension, one Kalen could feel in every word spoken. Not all species had embraced the idea of an equal Earth. Some were still wary, reluctant to concede the point that humanity, once considered a primitive race, was now a force to be reckoned with. This is just the beginning. Admiral Kalthus' voice, once so cold and calculating, now carried an undertone of respect. He stood by Kalen's side as they watched the final negotiations unfold. Our future doesn't just lie in the battles we've won, but in how we move forward from here. Kalen turned to him, the weight of the galaxy's future on his shoulders. It's not just about fighting anymore, it's about building something that lasts, something the galaxy can't ignore. As Kalen stood on the balcony overlooking Earth's sprawling cities, the quiet hum of life below seemed distant, almost surreal. Victory was a hard-earned thing, and humanity had paid its price. But Kalen knew that no matter how far they'd come, there would always be challenges ahead. The laser plasma displays in front of him shifted once again, showing a broadcast from the United Nations. The people of Earth were celebrating, not just a military victory, but the start of something greater. The global unity that had been born from the conflict, the realization that humanity was stronger together, was evident in every face on the screen. But even as the celebrations raged, Kalen knew the cost of peace. It was a fragile thing, always hanging by a thread, ready to be broken by those who would not accept Earth's new place in the galaxy. Kalen, General Draknor said, stepping up beside him, her voice steady but somber. Do you ever wonder what we might have become if we hadn't fought for this? Kalen turned to her, his eyes distant. I don't know. He took a deep breath, his voice calm. But I know what we are now. We're no longer just survivors. We're builders, we're protectors. The Galactic Assembly had reluctantly accepted Earth's new role in the galaxy, but there was still work to be done. Negotiations would continue, alliances would shift, and new challenges would arise. But the heads-up displays showed that Earth was no longer an outsider. The galaxy had been forced to take notice of the planet that had once been seen as nothing more than a primitive world, struggling for survival. "I know the galaxy is watching us," Kalen said, his voice hard with resolve, "but we're not here to prove ourselves. We're here to shape the future." The laser plasma display showed the final message Kalen had prepared for the galaxy. It was his final declaration as Earth's representative, one that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The message began, the words clear and unflinching. "To the galaxy, to all those who doubted us, to all those who feared us, Earth is no longer a conquered world. We are no longer prey, nor a pawn. We are now a sovereign power, and we will forge our own path, alongside those who seek peace, justice, and prosperity." Kalen's gaze hardened as the transmission continued. "We are no longer an afterthought. We are not your inferiors, nor will we ever again be. Our place among the stars is no longer negotiable, and to those who stand with us, know this Earth will protect its own. But we will not seek to conquer. We will not destroy, but we will defend." As Kalen's voice echoed across the galaxy, the heads-up displays lit up with responses from the galaxy's species. Some were cautious, others openly skeptical, but the truth had been said. Earth's place was assured. Kalen turned away from the screen, the weight of the future pressing on his shoulders. The battle for Earth's survival had been won, but the war for its place in the galaxy was only just beginning. The galaxy had watched Earth rise from the ashes of war. Now Kalen knew, the challenge would be to build something lasting, a future not based on fear, but on respect. "Humanity has its place among the stars now," Kalen said quietly, more to himself than to anyone else, "and we will never be forced to step aside again." He turned back to the heads-up display, watching as Earth's ships patrolled the galaxy, a reminder to all that humanity was no longer just fighting to survive. They were fighting to thrive, to lead, and to shape the future of the stars. The road ahead would not be easy, but Kalen was ready. Humanity was ready. The galaxy had been changed, and humanity had finally found its place. The legacy was now theirs to shape.